Good morning. It's 8:30, and I'm going to call the Clay County Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, October 8th, 2024 to order. First thing on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Second the motion.
A motion is second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next, we have citizens to be heard. Are there any citizens here that wish to be heard on an issue that is not part of the agenda? Steve, do we have anybody remotely?
We do not, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Next is approval of payment of bills and vouchers.
Move to approve.
A motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And next, we have approval of minutes from September 24th, 2024.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We're going to start off this morning with Stephen Larson, our county administrator. Request to approval to hire full-time assistant Clay County administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Before you this morning is a discussion to talk about the possibility of creating that full-time assistant county administrator position. As you are aware, but for the public's knowledge, currently Darren Brook serves as both jointly as our HR director and as our assistant county administrator. As the fourth fastest growing county in Minnesota, the role of the administrator and assistant have evolved over the last few years. This position was first brought about in 2007 as a request of the then county administrator, V.J. Sethi, to address some different challenges that they were facing from a planning purposes, also from day-to-day operations. At that point, we had roughly 325 employees. We now have over 680 employees as commissioners. At that point, looking back, the most committee assignments the commissioners had was 24. The least that you guys have now is 33. And so, again, while the administrator is not at all of those meetings, it does go to show how busy that we've become as a county. And so, recently, we've had two PIC meetings to discuss this. In full transparency, it wasn't as part of my initial 2025 budget. One, because I think most importantly, because as a board, you asked us only to bring the most challenging concerns that we had this year, and I brought that to my staff. My staff answered that call, and so I felt that it would be tone deaf of me if I added this in as a request this year. Having said that, I do think that it would benefit the county as a whole, and so with that, I guess I would look for different feedback from the board. Again, we had a recommendation, a request of this board was the preliminary levy was set September 17th. The request was that if there is a way to bring this forward without impacting the 2025 levy, that this board would consider that. As part of your handouts, we did have two higher than anticipated revenues that came in. One, the state police aid was $70,000 higher than what was budgeted in 2024 and anticipated then for 2025. And we also had state funding that now covers the benefit packages for disabled law enforcement personnel that we're currently paying, which this year was $65,166. This was new policy from the state that we did not know that we were going to be receiving. Rather than we will still have to initially pay for it, but there'll be a reimbursement from the state. The positions that we've talked about previously, I did put in the calculator that you guys have seen previous discussions. From a cost perspective, it would be keeping the county commissioner or county administrator at its current grade, but we would be shifting the HR director to grade 30. And well, again, this is just for purposes. We don't know yet. Well, I'll go through an interview process if the board would move on this for the HR open director position. And came up with an estimate total cost of $130,320, which these two new revenue sources would potentially cover if the board looked to move forward with that. With that, I'd yield for any questions.
Just Pick did forward this after a good discussion. One of the things that surprises me, and I've been around local government entities for, well, since 1978, and span of control is always an issue, and we have a administrator who, on top of all his other duties, is responsible for directing and evaluating and controlling 17 department heads. And just that right there is a concerning number. I think this is a good time to move forward with this. Steve's done a great job for us, but you can only expect so much when you spread somebody in 3 different directions. And I think getting him some more assistance in this is critical. Anyone else? Commissioner Mozo?
Thank you. I am really excited about this today. I think the request before us is really something that's been well thought out throughout a multitude of years. Really, we've understood that the work has continued to increase, and while the need has been met from that department, I think it's really time that this board steps up and offers some substantial help in that area. I do appreciate, Steve, that you didn't include it as part of your budget this year discussion, to be aware of the constraints that our budgeting process really has before us. But with that, I think it's important that we also take note to realize that there are some large items that this could help your department out with. So certainly appreciate that PIC has discussed this. I really appreciate from the direction of Commissioner Campbell that we find some revenues to help to subsidize this so that it wouldn't be an additional new request. But certainly when we meet with our colleagues from across the state, Clay County is really the exception due to the size and programming and scope of what we're working with to not have a full-time assistant administrator.
Anyone else? Commissioner Campbell?
2 revenues that we're talking about here, it seems to me that they're specified for another purpose.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Campbell, that the police and state aid does come in, and it shows up as a revenue in the sheriff's department. Again, for this year, it wasn't anticipated to receive the funding that they have, and so the $70,000 is above what was budgeted. I did talk to the sheriff because of exactly of your question. He was supportive in providing these dollars towards this piece. The state funding, as far as the benefit packages, this was a revenue that we did not have anticipated. Some years we get nothing. Some years we received $400. This year, the legislature set aside funding moving forward that's going to take this cost off of counties. And so we have this expense. We have the expenses budgeted, but we don't have the revenues. And again, my understanding was I was being tasked with finding funding to address the cost for a one-time, with the understanding moving forward that it would be in the 2026 budget. But I did, as I mentioned, I did talk with the sheriff in regards to the first item, and the second item is just new funding that has become available based on legislative action.
In regards to item number 14 on the agenda, are we, what are we going to expect to hear in regards to other revenues over expenditures?
So at this point, again, our main focus is going to be the expense piece. The revenues generally are 6 to 8 weeks behind, and so we're 75% through the county, or excuse me, through the fiscal year, and financially, you're going to find that all of our departments are within that time frame or below at this point.
I didn't,
At expenses are at the 75% range or below is where we're at
and that's through,
through September.
Commissioner Kravinoff?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner. I really want this to happen. I am, so going to the last piece, at what point as we get toward December, will we kind of know, project closer to what that revenues over expenditures, if there's an increasing gap or a gap that we could be pointing toward those monies instead? I'm bothered by the sheriff piece. Maybe it's, even though Sheriff Empting's good with it, does that take away some contingency for him or that department? That's a concern. And then I apologize, I'm a little confused on the other. Is that money that is going to be taken for the use of something else within that group? Or I guess I'm misunderstanding the 65.
So, Mr. Chair, Mr. Kravinoff, we have several law enforcement and individuals and/or families who we are paying their benefit package.
Okay.
Because of a disability that they had while on duty.
Okay.
And so currently we're paying that. It's an expense in our budget, but until this year we weren't receiving any revenues to replace that or to offset that cost. And the legislature made changes this year that we're going to be receiving $65,166 that we had not anticipated.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for that clarification. And again, I guess I'm concerned about on the police side, but I mean, it's a concern I have, but if we're feeling, I don't know. Again, I really want this to happen. And I guess maybe to get it through, I'll go on good faith, probably, just that there'll be a gap there toward the end of the year. But I don't know. I struggle with the police aid one. Sorry.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Campbell?
When this was previously discussed, I did ask for, how we'd cover this. I think this is going to be a record for the soonest we've spent above our preliminary levy in the history of my time on here. But at the same point in time, my question to you just now was, where are we going to be at on the 2024? 2023, we had revenues over expenditures, and we used, I think, about 1.5 million of that to
1.8, yeah.
1.8 million in this budget, but there was still more room there. And there was more room there. And, so from that standpoint, I think we could find the 1 year funds just out of not even looking at what 24 brings, but still what was left in 2023 in revenues over expenditures. Sure. Because it was significant. I certainly think Darren's the right person to step in there.
Maybe, if I may.
Go ahead.
So, Kevin, I think we all know kind of where that reserve piece is, from what we've seen. I mean, And I know that's a delicate balance too, having a contingency far enough for our departments. But I don't know if,
I'm not one bit concerned about taking another $130,000 from reserves. I'm not, because I think that's built. As a matter of fact, I think in the last audit report, I think for the first time ever, we exceed the 6-month level that the state talks about. That's the first time since I've been on this board we've done that.
and it's good to know that. So I guess maybe what I'd like to see, or potentially is, I'm good with the 65. I understand that. Either that or we don't name it and we just say we're going to pull it from reserves to cover it.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Krabanoff, I think what you're asking or what you're saying is in fact true from the standpoint that, we have an additional $135,000 of revenue that we weren't anticipating. And so at the end of the year, essentially, assuming that that's not spent, it will go into our general fund reserve. And so in bringing this forward, what I was anticipating they're trying to do is showing that there's additional revenue. And so at the end of the year, assuming that money is not spent, it will become part of the
I would
fund balance.
agree with Commissioner Krabanoff in that if we're going to do this, I think we should do it without designating the $2 amounts that you talked about as where it comes from. Instead, I think we should just say that it comes from our reserves. I don't want any potential from law enforcement officers, anticipated police state aid fund that we're taking from that fund. I just don't, I don't even want the perception that somebody could have of that. And the same with the funding now, the benefits package for disabled law enforcement personnel. I don't even want the perception that we've taken from those funds. And somebody based on this could interpret that. And, just going by your question, so I guess, if this is to be done, then I think it should be done just with the idea in mind that the 2025 position would be funded out of reserves.
I mean, listening to this discussion, I think Commissioner Campbell and Commissioner Krabanoff have a good point. Grateful to the sheriff, he's being a team player on this. But overall, it is not even saying the old analogy, which pocket are we going to take this out of? It's basically the same pocket. After January 1st, the money will be in reserves anyway. So I think that this is a necessary expense for doing business at the level that we're doing with the number of employees we've got, the growth of the county, and you look at other counties within our state. My gosh, all of them have an assistant that in counties that are much smaller and do a lot less business than we do. So I think it's time. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the position.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Does the motion include where the funds are going to come from?
Well, we'll include that they can come out of reserves, but I would also indicate that the future money coming in for the sheriff's department and for the other department, that those go in reserves too. I mean, that does become part of their budget. That's 70,000 and 63,000. Does that become part of their budget?
In future budgets, it will show in the 2025 budget, it could show the additional 70,000 that we would be anticipating receiving again next year. But I do think that the motion would be clear based on the discussion this board had, if you just said that it specifically came from reserves.
Okay.
My second,
My motion that it comes from reserves.
and my second would reflect that as well.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commission, for that. I do think that as a county, it puts us in a stronger position for the administrator moving forward. The second portion of that would be then the recommendation would be to move Darren into that full-time role. Darren has been with the county for over a decade. In the last 6.5 years, I'll just say that he's been an essential role and someone that I work with. He really stepped up during our COVID pandemic. He is stretched, I think, as the information that I shared with you in the handout. You know, we've gone from 300 and some employees during his time to over 600, with 4 different departments having over 100 employees now. And so he's professional. He is able to handle anything that we give them. He's managing many of the duties that are in the job description or will be in the job description already. And so I'd be very happy to have Darren take on that full role, and I think he'll serve this commission very well.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Campbell.
Look, going back to the item number 2 agenda, notes that we have here, the implementation timeline for the Assistant County Administrator was going to be January of 2025. Is that correct?
That's correct. And
So that's what we're still, even.
that's what
we
we're
did today.
utilizing. What I would be asking is that we would be looking for backfill in this. And so we would be looking to replace the administrator, or excuse me, the HR director portion, and then potentially a generalist. And so we would like to have all of those positions ready by 20.
Yeah, I understand that. So the process that you're asking for in the backfill now would be to find that HR candidate, basically to step in and fill those shoes starting January 1.
That is correct.
Just want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing here.
Further discussion.
I'll make a motion that we designate Darren Brooks' full-time role to Assistant County Administrator with backfill.
I'll second that.
I have motion, a second. Further discussion? That backfill will reflect all the way down the line for backfill for any position within
Yeah, we'd have
HR
to-
that comes
yeah,
open.
Have to fill those roles.
Yeah.
Yes.
If no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you, Board.
Next, request approval for the City of Hawley to receive tax forfeit parcel for authorized public use. Okay, we've got Erica Pauley, Hawley Clerk and Treasurer. Good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead and proceed.
So we have a property in the city of Hawley. It's been tax forfeited for, I think, close to 10 years now. It's a funny shaped lot, and about 70% of it is wetland. So technically, by the time you hit all your setbacks for a residential property, it's an unbuildable lot. So the city is looking at it. It's adjacent to another one of our park areas with wetland on it. The city's currently, the city is currently mowing it and maintaining it. And right now, we're kind of tossing around the idea of doing a community garden or something along that lines on that property. So we're just asking for it to be transferred back to the city to use for part of our parkland.
Thank you.
And the,
Commissioner Campbell.
yeah, the former owner has never asked to reobtain that property?
Nope, and it's gone up on the county's land auctions a few times. And we get phone calls from people who are inquiring. And once we tell them that it's wetland and you really don't have room to put a house on there, then it just sits. So this way we can at least do something with it.
Commissioner Krabanoff?
Not knowing the process completely, how do you sever the deed from that ownership to the county? How does that work? Or is it done already?
That's already done.
Yep, so the county, it's currently in the county's name when it went tax forfeit, yep.
At that point? So now we're doing a quick claim, is what we're asking over to you.
Yes.
Yeah, and you haven't, it sounds like an intended use already?
Yep. This is one of the ideas we're putting out there, but it's basically when you drive into one of our newer developments, it's the first lot right there. So it's sitting vacant, and we'd like to see something put on there, whether, like I said, one of the ideas is the community garden, or even just a few benches for sitting as you walk up there, because there is a walking path that comes from the high school over to that development currently. So we have a few ideas we're working on, but we are going to want to do something with it.
And at this point, the county's maintaining it? Is that,
We are actually doing the mowing and stuff on it because it's adjacent to one of our other park properties.
I see.
Commissioner
Mr. Chair,
Campbell?
one of the intended authorizations that we have is to turn this back to the local community if it's for public use. So this would meet that threshold. I would move to approve Hawley's request.
Second the motion.
Okay, a motion and second. Further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Sheriff.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good
Commissioners.
morning.
Thanks for having me here this morning. Received an unexpected resignation from a deputy with nearly 10 years of experience. He is going to go pursue a different passion. He has indicated that the law enforcement culture has changed quite a bit over the past few years, and he just doesn't have it in him anymore. So we wish him the best in his next adventure in life, but I'm looking to replace his position. This would be a rather budget-neutral position, as he's currently at step 7 on our grid. And if we were to hire anybody, it would be either at a step 7 or below, depending on experience. The only other thing we would have to do is the cost of uniforms and things of that nature to get a new person started.
Any questions for the sheriff?
Move to approve the request.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sheriff, is that your only vacancy right now that you have?
Yes, it is, and he will be done on October 18th.
Okay.
But that is the only vacancy we currently have.
Have you got any candidates waiting in the wings?
No, I wish we did, but we'll start advertising probably today.
Okay.
And in hopes to get that filled as soon as we can. I'm hoping for December, January sometime if we can get apps. Thank you.
Have Corey Bang, Solid Waste Manager. Solid Waste would like to eliminate the Recycle Program Manager, replace the position with 2 positions at a lower pay grade. Corey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Yes, in the past month, we've had 2 resignations within the Solid Waste Department, both long-term employees. And when we looked at replacing these people, excuse me, I felt it was best to redo the job descriptions and the PDQs and actually replace the recycling manager with 2 positions. That would give us an extra body at the landfill and somebody that could kind of cover. It would free up our landfill technician to do some stuff that she would be better suited for and paid for. So the request would be for a recycling educator and a landfill clerk in lieu of the recycling manager. The net cost would be virtually 0 because when we redid the PDQ and created the PDQ, we came in at a lower price. So it's basically a wash at that point. And with the loss of the landfill operator, we also gained some funds there, so it won't affect the budget at all. Questions?
Just to indicate, this has been before PIC, and we forwarded it with recommendation. Corey's done a lot of work on this to make it focus on where he has his needs and keep it within the original budget. Any questions or comments?
There's no questions, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
And motion is second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Corey.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I'd just like to thank Corey. He continually explores different ways to, one, make his department more efficient and also cost-effective, and this is just another example of the many things that he's done over the last year and a half to become more efficient and provide better service to the customers, so thank you.
Appreciate that. We were, both Commissioner Gross and I were very impressed with the presentation at PIC, and you put a lot of energy into this. So we're grateful.
The next item I have, in the past few years, the MPCA has approached all solid waste departments across the state and asked us to try and improve our hauler reporting percentage. It's, throughout the state, it's like 10% of the haulers that report. Clay County is much better than that, but we do have some that don't report. What the reporting does is it helps the MPCA decide where the score funding goes based on volumes and that kind of stuff. What we've decided to ask for is adding an additional $50 fee to all hauler licenses. If they report to the state the previous year, we would waive that fee. So there will be no cost to those that are doing it correctly. It would just be a little push to get the ones that aren't following the rules to start following the rules. So with that, we would ask for a $50 waivable fee added to the haulers licenses annually.
Questions? Comments?
This was discussed at SWAC too, and I think the SWAC committee also agreed that this would be appropriate.
Yeah, I'll make a motion then. Motion to approve adding a $50 fee for non-reporting to the hauler license application.
Second.
I have motion and second. Further discussion? Not all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thanks, Corey. Next up, Clay County Employee United Way campaign presentation. Rita Rucker, James O'Donnell from our juvenile, West Central Juvenile. Let's see, Lorraine Godin, Kristen Lepard, and Sarah Mastera, and Valerie Mice. We got everybody here.
Except
I did-
Lorraine. Lorraine is not feeling well today, so she took the prudent choice and stayed home. So
Good choice, and it looks like we got a full team here, so
I-
y'all take it away.
I am so pleased to work with these people because they are always so helpful. And I sent out an email to the whole county and said, anybody want to be on the United Way board? And I got 0 responses. So I contacted Lorraine and James and Kirsten. And before I barely got my fingers off my keyboard, Lorraine had already said, count me in. And the next I heard from James, he's like, whatever you need, I'm here. So, and then Kristen said, sorry, I've been away from my desk, but I'm on it. So great people to work with, and I appreciate their help. Good morning, commissioners and chair. We're kicking off our 2024 United Way campaign. And we have Sarah Mastera and Kristen Lepard, Valerie Meese, and James O'Donnell with us today. I also have 2 people at the Clay County Government Center that are great help and asset to our campaign, and that's Greg Kordowski and Tracy Bedford, sorry. So I want to make sure I give them credit where their credit's due too. This last year, I was asked to participate in 2 sessions of the 2024 Community Impact Review Panel. What an eye-opener. There's so many worthy organizations out there that are looking for money to help our citizens here in our community, and to see the time and effort they put into just even preparing their request is amazing. So that was a good experience. I'm going to give a quick recap of our 2023 campaign. At the Government Center, we had activities that included a pie social, baked potato bar, guessing jars and penny wars, and a chili feed. Those four things were $943.14, and then a chili feed raised $188. A bake sale raised $430, and a book and media sale had $20. This year, we're already starting yesterday on guessing jars. It was requested because they enjoy doing these things. It brings community, it brings a sense of fun, lighthearted fun, and still being able to get your work done. So we started our guessing jars yesterday. They'll run through this week. We have a chili feed planned for October 16th and a bake sale planned for October 28th. Kristen is going to fill in for Lorraine's information and take it away.
Good morning. So the recap for social services for last year's activities, Lorraine organized a wonderful bake sale that raised $883, as well as a soup luncheon that raised $590. We're going to have another bake sale this year, and that's going to be on October 23rd from 9 to 1, I believe. I tried to find the time this morning, but I couldn't find it. So if any of you are around that day, stop by, because we have some wonderful bakers over at Social Services, and there were some mighty fine-looking treats last year, so I have no doubt that there will be some again this year. Lorraine and I had also talked about Social Services having a friendly departmental competition to try to increase donations. So I will follow up with her when she's back in the office, hopefully this week. So more to come on that as well.
Thanks, Kristen. James?
Sure. Yeah, I guess the Juvenile Center ran a taco bar last year. This year, we're going to fill in the gap whenever there's something not happening, one of those weeks, one of those days. We'll provide lunch or something that everybody can come to, and hopefully we can break 1,000 this year. That would be a good goal for the Juvenile Center to try to hit. So we'll see if we can make that happen, but yeah, it's a good cause. Thank you, Rita.
James does a great job, by the way. We'll send out a notice and let everybody know when the taco bar is, but it's a hit, and it's really good food and plentiful. Goals are always good. Last year, we set a goal for our county employees for $16,000. We missed it. We hit 88%, but I'm not going to feel bad about that because we still raised 14,000 something. I don't have it right here in front of me. Anyways, employee pledges were $10,400. So I still feel good about that. So, Kristen, you want to talk about school supply drive?
Sure. So this year's school supply drive was held in July. We had a goal of $500, and we collected just over $750. So we met that, and hopefully next year we can increase that as well. It's a super easy way for anyone and everyone to contribute if they choose to. So super easy goes for a wonderful cause.
This year we did our school supply drive online, and I didn't have to load all that stuff into my vehicle and haul it over to the Fargo Dome or Shields Arena and then unload it again. So that was awesome. It saved me a lot of work. Just like our online pledge forms, it makes the process so much easier. So I'm going to ask Valerie and Sarah to share some of their insight on our campaigns and on the goals of the United Way. Yes, ma'am. Okay, great.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us some time this morning. I just want to share a little bit more about United Way and where all of the dollars that Rita and her team are raising and where that is going to help Clay County and Cass County here locally. United Way here in Cass and Clay counties is focused on really cultivating solutions to end poverty. And so we work and partner with 29 organizations and fund 44 programs that are really helping reduce barriers for people experiencing poverty. So, things like transportation, childcare, housing, food insecurity, living wage employment, all of those barriers that people are facing every single day. The programs that United Way is investing in are really helping to break that cycle of poverty and really make the biggest, most long-term change for families and children here locally. Last year, we were able to raise about $6.1 million from our community. This year, our goal is to raise $6.2 million. Every single donation helps us get there, whether it's participating in a bake sale or chili feed or any other kind of small event, to people who are choosing to do a payroll deduction or a one-time donation. All of that goes back to helping those programs that are really, really needed for many people here locally in our community. A couple of programs that I just wanted to share about that are here in Clay County that all of your residents and citizens can access are the Reach Food Pantry in Hawley, the Jump Start program at Moorhead Area Public Schools. We have a great partnership with CAPLP here on the Minnesota side, as well as Legal Services of Northwestern Minnesota. The Village is another organization that we work with to provide mental health services. And so each year our campaign kind of focuses on a different aspect of the impact. And this year we are highlighting mental health and the importance of making those services available to everyone that needs them. We have a campaign video that I'm sure Rita will be sending out to everybody to share about kind of a few of those stories of impact of the people that have been helped, and the ways that the donations are specifically helping local people. But mental health is something that is affecting everybody, specifically students in our area. And when it comes to kids, only about 1 in 4 of the kids that need mental health support are actually getting it. And so United Way has made that a priority this year, more specifically in looking at our funding and how we're helping the programs throughout the community and making sure that mental health services are available to everybody that needs them. So we thank you for your consideration in participating in the campaign this year, and for your just advocacy on behalf of United Way for encouraging others to participate and give back as well. So thank you.
Sarah.
Good morning. My name is Sarah. I just wanted to echo especially what Valerie and what Rita have said. And more than anything, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that Rita always responds cheerfully when asked to give her time and talents to the United Way and her team. And so we're very grateful for that. This is my second year. I'm working directly with Clay County in supporting them. I will say one of the most impactful things that I also had the opportunity to do was sit on that impact review panel that Rita mentioned. And we all know that the need is not going away. If anything, the need is increasing in our communities. And the diligence provided to just the diligence and the time and the concentration and thought of who to award the funds to is intense, because every organization that is speaking that day is worthy of support. However, we don't have an unlimited checkbook. And so I do want to say that the United Way is a fantastic steward of the dollars that are raised, and that I'm proud to support the United Way, and that we truly appreciate your support in allowing Clay County to also support it. So thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. That was a great day. Yeah. I learned about programs I didn't even know we had here in the area. So I thought I was plugged into everything. I wasn't, so that was interesting. James, you want to talk about our 2024 kickoff?
Sure. Just an email will be coming out October 14th. Look for that. Don't mark it as phishing and send it to IT, but always do that if you're in doubt, but,
I sent it to IT, so it'd be whitewashed.
so October 14th.
Yeah, Monday. So respond to those emails. You can respond by saying, I'm not donating, but what that does is it keeps the system flowing so we can have a count, so we know that people are responding and seeing, and we're not missing anybody. Last year, I think you all got a copy of our spreadsheet from last year, or from the last several years, actually. Last year, there was a little snafu where we did not get emails for the entire employee workforce. We only got full-time. So you'll see on the sheet that it's talking about 400 and some employees. And the difference on that is because we actually have 600 and something, and we only got emails for the full-time people. So those part-time variable hour folks, they did get missed last year. I took a look at our information from previous years. We don't seem to get a lot of response from that group. Not that we wouldn't accept anything they want to give us, because we always have our hand out, but that would not have impacted our numbers that much, if any at all. So, yeah, I want to again thank this group who is my backbone, and Greg and Tracy over at the Government Center, and ready for any questions if anybody has any.
Yeah,
Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you to all of you for your efforts. I'm just wondering, Rita, when it comes to the bake sales and those types of things, when you raise money, are you able to use those dollars to leverage through Giving Hearts Day?
I'm not, I don't know. That'd probably be a Valerie question.
I mean, is it something that should be considered? Because it seems to me that you know, during that Giving Hearts Day time period, all contributions are increased. And is it something that should be worthwhile in considering to do?
I can answer that question. So I guess it would be something you could consider of just the timing of when that's turned into United Way. As far as the match funds for Giving Hearts Day, all the match funds are raised ahead of time. So it all depends on each individual organization. So we raise the match funds ourselves. Every organization does that for Giving Hearts Day. So, I mean, that could be an option if you wanted to wait to turn them all in on that day and have it count towards Giving Hearts Day. But it's all helping. It's kind of going to the same place and helping in the same way. So it kind of depends how you want to look at it. But, yeah.
I just didn't know if that was considered.
I hadn't considered it. I hadn't even thought about it, so thanks for that idea. Last year, I was more on top of stuff. We had several activities at the Government Center where we were raising, you know, a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. And once I got to $943, I called Valerie. I'm like, can I bring some money over? Because I didn't like having it sitting in our office. And then we had our campaign drive. And then after that, we had a penny drive. And I guess I was feeling weak because we found a whole bunch of pennies that had been counted but didn't get out of the big, huge cardboard box they were in. So then I brought another donation over after the fact. So that is included in our funds. But so we had 3 separate deposits over the time last year. So, you know, if I'm organized and have events throughout the year, and then just save them and contribute them on Giving Hearts Day, I suppose.
If there's a benefit to do that,
And it's not any more work on my end, just organization. So, yeah.
Commissioner Krabanoff.
Well, thank you for all the great work you do, and I hope for the county you can continue to build this. I guess I got involved 15 years ago, maybe, through the realtors. And I know what we've done through those groups. In my brokerage, I guess our participation's almost 100% every year. And I know you're kind of more a beginning, or you've been involved in growing it, but the impact, I guess that hit me again, I think probably 15 years ago, or a dozen anyway, was back when you started doing the backpacks for kids for their lunches. And I saw directly what that did for the community, and that's never left me. And I'll be curious how you work toward mental health. I really will follow that. If there's some way to do that, I'd like to, because I see that need. I work along with social services and in that need, so it'll be interesting how United Way fills in that, those gaps that we have. So, and maybe you're doing it already, but I hope you can create competition between all your divisions. I like your goals there, James, and Kirsten, get them at social services, will you? Anyway, thank you for all the wonderful work you do.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I know the mental health aspect is a strong, you're a strong advocate, as well as Commissioner Mojo.
Yeah.
That our kids have been through a lot, and if you can get them turned in the right direction early on, it's going to cause less problems. They're not going to end up over with James. They're not going to end up with our social services. You know, it's a well-needed and high priority item right now in our community. So,
Commissioner Gross.
If you're giving the money to Giving Hearts Day, would that take away from United Way?
no.
You can still designate it.
Yeah, it comes to United Way. It would be designated for United Way, and then there'd be additional funds included to it.
I'm grateful for you folks being here. United Way's been part of my entire working life. Before I even came here, it was strongly encouraged by the city I worked with, and I think we need to encourage our employees to participate. You know the money's going where it needs to go. You know there's good oversight, and there's a lot of energy put into it by our folks. And look forward to another year working with United Way. Any other comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Have our county engineer, Justin Sorum.
Yes, good morning. So the first item I have is a request from the Metro Flood Diversion Authority to set a public hearing to acquire and obstruct right-of-way on its 170th Avenue as part of Reach SE4. The proposed public meeting date would be November 19th. I guess any questions on the request? So this is just the initial request to set a public hearing to hear their request.
I just a little background. I think we've talked about this numerous times. This is at the 170th?
That's correct.
170th Avenue, and there's a small portion of that road that will be permanently closed. And part of this process will require the county to be involved, just from the legality standpoint of it. So what's being asked for today is to hold that public hearing before the county would take that action. Did I sum that up pretty good?
Yes, you did.
All right.
Any questions?
Yeah, just more curiosity. 170th, is that what, down by the
Down by Comstock.
Road?
That's correct.
Is it number 2?
No, it is not number
South,
2.
Oh, just north of that a little bit?
south,
South.
Pardon?
south.
South.
Okay, more on the line. Okay, thank you.
Comments or questions?
And the process with, and there is a work in progress too with Holy Cross on the MOU, that's the road that's just north of there, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We have reached an agreement with Holy Cross Township. We're just working on getting the final details put together, so anticipate Commissioner Campbell, that'll be on the October DA board meeting, but
Okay.
I think we're very close to having a full agreement, but I think we've reached agreement on all the fundamental items on that agreement as well, so.
And just going back to the legalities, Holy Cross Township is aware of that the county does need to be part of that process.
Yes, the same language exists in the Holy Cross Township MOU, just acknowledging that the county will take that segment over and close that road officially. And for the rest of the commissioners, we've been using the same process all along the diversion channel and southern embankment on the North Dakota side as well, and it's worked quite well there too. It just takes a little burden off the townships from having to do the road closure part of the activities, and keep that at more of the diversion authority member entity level is what our objective has been there.
In our packet here, I noticed that we're asking for the public hearing to be held on November 19th. And do we have and that would be during our board meeting, correct? And do we have we got a time established for that, Jackie? Do we have anything within our agenda right now that would suggest what time we'd have to have that?
I don't believe so, no.
There's nothing on that?
I think 9 o'clock has usually worked pretty well, and then we'll actually send out letters to landowners. The diversion authority will prepare the letters for us, the county will mail it out, and then we'll also advertise in the Hawley Herald.
Mr. Chair, if there's no other questions, I would move that we set the public hearing on November 19th at 9 a.m. 2024 to consider the Metro Flood Diversion Authority's request to take over 170th Avenue South in the location identified in its request and obstruct the same with reach southeast SE4 of the comprehensive project.
I'll second.
Have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thanks, folks. And Justin, you've got another item.
Yes, so the second item I have is we've been approached by MNDOT, so they are selling both a tilt bed trailer and a tanker. So they did offer them to us before they did put it on min bid. So we have the opportunity to purchase a 2001 tanker and a 2011 tilt bed trailer. So these are two items that I think would be a huge benefit to the county. So first of all, the tanker. So we currently have one. That's a 1967. It's an Army surplus one that we've used quite a bit, put quite a bit of money into. So I do think that this 2001 would be a huge benefit. And especially on a fall like this, we've used that trailer more this year watering roads than we ever have. So I do think it is a good opportunity. And then the 2011 tilt bed. So right now, all we have is a low boy. So if a tandem truck were to break down, we don't have any ability to haul it. Whereas this has a winch and we can haul tandem trucks or anything else with it. So I do think that would also be a good opportunity. So the tanker would be 20,000 and the tilt bed would be 30. So we do have internal service fund in the amount of just over 120,000 for our low boy. And our low boy is in excellent condition, doesn't get used that often. So we'll just add some years of service onto that, and I don't have any concerns with it.
Mr. Chair.
Questions? Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for bringing these forward, Justin. In the equipment world, you can eat up the cost of this fairly quickly if you need to rent any services that way. Certainly to have the ability to haul in and implement with that tilt bed, I think is really important. And then two, when we are talking, that tanker trailer, we've really probably squeezed every last ounce of life out of that other one that we've had in in the discussions that we have around planning and zoning and dusting of roads, it really is something that citizens speak frequently about. And so to have that on hand, should we need, would be really helpful. I think the price really is appropriate, given the fact that you have some funds in the internal service. But again, I go back to, if we don't have that on hand, need to lease or contract with someone to utilize that, you can eat up the cost of having it fairly quickly. And then two, now we have the ability to lease that out should someone else need to use a trailer in that capacity as well.
Commissioner Krabanoff.
Just curious, how big is the tanker? I'm just curious.
I think it's 6,200 gallons.
Okay,
It's either 61 or 6,200.
okay.
And our current one is 5,000, so it's a little bit bigger.
Commissioner Campbell.
This was presented to Highway Tracking, and we discussed this, and we agree with Commissioner Mojo that it does make sense to do these. It would still leave about 60-some thousand in the internal service fund for the future
Lowboy.
needs of the lowboy. The fact that you're gonna be able to extend the life of that lowboy for a number of years. And you've talked to Lori about continuing that contribution into internal service for that purpose to help gain that back up over a number of years so that when the lowboy is time, then the funds will still be there.
That is correct.
And are you anticipating, I can't remember, I think we asked this question in Highway Tracking, are you anticipating having to put both of these new items in the internal service fund for contributions?
No, I don't plan to at this time.
Okay.
Those tankers, obviously, and as long as you take care of them, we have a 1967 that still works, so they're all stainless steel, so I don't foresee a need to put that on internal service.
Very good. And the recommendation from the Highway Tracking was to approve this request. So I would make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
And let's take a break. Next up on the agenda, we have Christine Godin from the Buffalo Red River Watershed District. Motion to approve Resolution 2024-28 and 2024-29 to support petitions for the Buffalo Red River Watershed District to utilize taxing authority. And open it up to you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us today. Like he said, I'm Christine Gaydon. I'm the administrator of the Buffalo Red River Watershed District. And with me, I have Bill Davis, one of our board managers appointed by your board. So today we're here to request you consider approving two petitions for the Buffalo Red River Watershed District to utilize taxing authority under Minnesota Watershed Law 103D 905. And this statute grants taxing authority to watershed districts for basic water management activities if petitioned for by a political subdivision. And so our watershed district comes to Clay County because Clay County accounts for 73% of our tax base based on the taxable market value. And so I'm going to keep it pretty brief this morning. I know we come here every year and you guys are pretty familiar with what we do. And in 2025, our request is similar to what we've done in the past few years. So I'll just give a quick rundown of what we're requesting. We have two petitions this year, and the first is for an assessment in the amount of $795,000. And these funds will be used for contributions to our 4 soil and water conservation district partners within the district for their conservation marketing, their technical assistance, and soil health practices. They'll also be used for our education and outreach for entities like River Keepers and the Red River Basin Commission and other watershed-wide programs that request support from the Watershed District. They'll also be used for our stream gauging operation through the United States Geological Service and the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, as well as our water quality monitoring efforts, our permitting, and then other investigations that may come to the board that are water-related concerns from landowners. The second petition is in the amount of $800,000. And these funds will contribute to project design and construction. And some of the projects that we'll be working on in 2025 are the Whiskey Creek and South Tributary Project, which is just north of Barnesville, as well as the Stony Creek Project and the Upper Buffalo River Restoration, which is up in Becker County. They will also be used to leverage grant funds that we obtain through state and federal grant programs. And I know every year we kind of give you a kind of a general idea of what that means for the taxes in terms of a $100,000 property value. So in 2025, the approximate amount per $100,000 of property value is $16.62. And just to compare that, we did include in your packet what that's been the last few years. But in 2024, it was $19.39. So with that, that's kind of the brief overview. If there's any questions, we're happy to answer them. And again, we appreciate your consideration.
Questions? Commissioner Krabanoff?
So I just want to, number one, thank Christine and the board. I think I went to those meetings where you were going through the budgeting, and I really appreciated, Christine, how you've worked over the last 3 years, right? Or 4?
4 in November.
How fast is time going? But that being really careful about that budget and the reallocation, or I don't know if it'd be reallocation, that's the wrong word, but looking at each individual account and understanding you don't need to tax that one anymore or assess that one anymore on the general budget, and trying to make sure those each account speaks clearly for itself and is in a good standing, if you will. So I appreciate that extra effort, and I know you've spent hours and hours doing that, and I think it really reflects a healthy budget, which leads to a very efficient, or the most efficient tax levy that you can do. So I appreciate your work and certainly support it.
Anyone else?
Can I just ask?
Mr. Campbell?
Thank you. Good morning. I'm looking at your annual assessment comparison, and so it looks like the first levy that you're asking for is going to be up 35,000 compared to 2024,
That's correct.
and the other one is down 37,000.
Correct.
So it ends up being a net change of less than $2,000, right? I think that's really good. I commend you for that.
Yeah.
But I on that, the 400,000 or the 420,000 that it shows for administrative, are those dollars that come in from projects?
So those are so that's part of the general assessment. That's separate from what we're requesting. That's something that the board can levy on their own. And that's for administrative fees for just running the office. In the past, we were capped in statute at $250,000.
Okay.
And so then that balance was paid for by projects. We would charge the projects for those. And now we're capped, I believe it's at 500,000. So it's the same, it's just how it's allocated out in the assessment.
So, yeah, those first two items, you don't need our approval to.
Correct, yeah.
Well, again, I want to thank you for maintaining that level. I think that's really good, and especially for the amount of work that you're doing. And you do receive, in some instances, there are assessments that go out to properties for benefited projects, right?
That's correct, yeah. Yep, so on this comparison sheet, that is included in like projects and ditches, just for your information, how that's changed as well.
Mr. Chair, if there's no further questions, I would move the resolution 2024-28.
I'll second the motion.
Further discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation, Christine. I just want to, Bill, thank you, and Kurt and Jerry for your representation as our Clay County managers on that board. You did a really great job of advocating for the citizens that reach out to you, asking those really tough questions. Water work is challenging and contentious, and you do a really great job of rising above that and finding the most common ground to do the work. So thank you for attending those meetings and doing the work, and thanks, Christine, too. Nice to see a decrease in what that levy amount is. Certainly, I'm just really flabbergasted at how the assessment value has just skyrocketed, though, in the last couple of years, which is, I think, the reason that we're seeing the decrease. But thanks for the work.
Any other discussion? Not, we have motion second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I'd also move Resolution 2024-29.
I'll second the motion.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Both motions pass. Thank you for coming up this morning.
Thank you.
And we appreciate this reflects some real good stewardship of the funds.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Kent.
Yeah, I just want to touch base a little bit. I know you're working on the project, the Georgetown project. You're the sponsors of that through working with the Diversion Authority. And Commissioner Gross and I have been driving up to Halsted once a month, and we drive through Hendrum and Pearlie and those areas, and the road raises that have been done there are really significant and impressive. And I'm looking forward to Georgetown having that same type of project done for them for flood control. So I don't know where you are in that process. I'm assuming that's moving forward, but thank you for your continued work on it.
Yep, so that's moving forward. We're hoping to do some land acquisition for just the road raises in Georgetown kind of this year. And our engineers are optimistic to start construction next year, so we'll see how that goes.
And the more you can probably keep us abreast on how that works. We've taken a pretty active stance in the lobbying for the legislative funds at the Capitol, and to be able to share those specifics, the opportunities with the challenges as well, would be really helpful for our outcomes there.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, we can do that. Thanks.
Put your, there.
Did you see the recap from when Bennett had the meeting with the landowners up there?
No.
I can send that. Do you want me to send
I could too, I got that.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah, we
good.
can pass it on to Steve.
Would you all like that?
Why don't you give it to Steve, or send it to Steve?
Yeah, send it to Steve and he can put it out to us.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Bill, there's a bake sale coming up. You let me know when you bake something, and I'll go buy it.
Probably not gonna happen.
Yeah. Busy.
Okay, next up, we have the Clay County Extension National 4-H Week presentation and proclamation. We have Mindy Grant and Monique Stizer with us, and others, or another. Good morning.
Good morning. We have Madeline Brenda Mule with us today. We're here kind of in a lighthearted, happy news update, I guess. It's National 4-H Week. It's something that's been going on for many, many years across the country. The 4-H program nationally has reached over 6 million youth, and they're continuing to count. There's a somewhat ambitious goal of reaching 10 million youth in the near future. So we're pretty excited. This year's theme for National 4-H Week is Beyond Ready. And that speaks to what 4-H's goal is and why 4-H is, why it's important to the young people involved and why it's important to our communities. 4-H is preparing young people to be ready, to be beyond ready once they reach adulthood, to be ready to contribute to their communities, to care about the people that they live and work with, and to take on leadership roles in their community. 4-H has a long history of doing that. 4-H, of course, has been around more than a century. My grandfather started 4-H in 1936 with the Hog Project, And then he brought his children into 4-H and became a club leader, and a county fair volunteer, and a swine project leader. And my mother then brought me into 4-H 30 years later in the early 90s. I've been involved with 4-H since 1990, so I'm not going to do the math for you, but it's almost been 35 years. I've been involved with 4-H for a long time. I chose to make 4-H a career and a pathway because I found that working with young people and seeing what 4-H can do in teaching life skills and preparing young people to be contributing members of the community, I experienced that myself. I choose to volunteer within my communities. I choose to give back. I choose to donate. I choose to be an active contributing member of my community, and hopefully in a positive way. And I love that 4-H provides that pathway for other young adults. And we brought one of them with us here today. She's on the cusp of becoming an adult. She ages out of our program in about 8 months. Next fall, she ages out. And so she's one of those young people that's ready to launch, right? Ready to launch into our community and become the next young person. But before we turn it over to Madeline to kind of share with you what 4-H is for her and what she's excited about for her future, Mindy's going to kind of share with you what our local reach is, real briefly.
Hi, I'm Mindy Grant. I am a coworker with Monique in the Clay County office here with Extension. Jenny's smiling because she recognizes the photos up on the screen. This is a great photo of some of the achievements that our kids share in during the Clay County Fair. And excuse me, this year we reached 577 youth members. And all of those members come to us in different ways. We have some that join community clubs like Barn Buddies, Humboldt, Blue Eagle Clovers. And we have others that join us through after-school programs. We do programs with all of the 5 school districts here where we provide enrichment programs in those after-school hours for our youth. And then we also do partnerships with other community organizations where we provide a variety of services. We may be going in as guests to actually facilitate an activity, or we might be training other youth development workers to deliver 4-H curriculum, helping with supplies, curriculum, lessons, and training people. So those are all different ways that we reach our youth members over the year. And then we also have 75 screened adults. So in Minnesota 4-H, we do have a process to do a background screening for our adults who will be in charge with children as part of our safety of minors policies. So we have 75 of those people who will help us delivering program. It might be our club leaders, it might be chaperones that go to state fairs or camps that we provide. Any project activities or project days that we do, we have our screen volunteers there. We do have dozens and dozens of other people, parents, community members, grandparents, that do come along with us to help support us during the fair and other activities that we do as well. And we'll pass it back over to Monique.
Well, and like I mentioned before, the reason why 4-H is important, I think that's a question we sometimes forget about. And we talk about what we do and how we do it, but sometimes we forget about the why. And it really boils down to because we're building people that are ready to be a part of our community and that we want to see. We're helping young people become the people that they want to be and become positive, successful adults within our community. 4-H is associated with 109 land-grant universities across this country, and they are all conducting research and studies on why 4-H has been a good program. And that's one of the things, that research, of course, is feeding our programs and our approach to working with young people, but it's also showing that we are 4 times more likely to make positive contributions to their communities once they age out of 4-H, that young people in 4-H are twice as likely to report feeling competent. And that's important for people today. That's important to our mental health, to feel like we're competent and capable of doing something. Young people are twice as likely to make healthy choices. This all ties back to like mental health and how we're contributing to the community and how we're helping other people find success around us. So that's an important part. That's part of that why. This is why 4-H is important and what its place and role is within our community. That said, we're really here to talk about Madeline.
I want to thank you all for having me here today. I want to thank Monique and Mindy for inviting me, and I want to thank you commissioners for also inviting me to this meeting. Like Monique said, I will age out as of September 30th of 2025, which I'm really disappointed about, but I also, 4-H has been a really important part of my life. There's been so many opportunities like national trips, state trips, community leadership opportunities, service opportunities. There's so much that 4-H offers youth that, like, it's beyond, like, I'm speechless for how many opportunities that are present. And with, so, like, I talk about, like, national trips. Like, I'm very competitive in, like, the horse side of 4-H. That's kind of my niche. And I have been able to go to, like, so many different places around the United States. I've been able to go to Lexington, Kentucky for Eastern Nationals, which is during one of the biggest livestock shows in the nation, too. I've been able to go to Quarter Horse Congress, and I actually leave here on Sunday to head back down to Ohio for my second and last national trip for hippology. And hippology is like it's a study of horses. So, like, we do judging, there's, like, diagrams that we have to label, there's a test, there's a speaking portion, and a team problem. So there's many opportunities that I've had to go all over the nation and those opportunities I don't know if I necessarily would have taken if 4-H wouldn't have provided me those opportunities. And also, like, the leadership opportunities that 4-H offers, they're so vast. Like, you have different opportunities to, like, serve in your county. You have opportunities to serve at a regional level, your state level. I'm a regional horse PDC youth, and so I attend state meetings, but then I'm also a regional voice for the Northwest region up here in Minnesota, in this area. So I'm really proud to be one of those youth who lead in the state and who have a voice in the state position. And so that's honestly about all I have for you guys today. I don't know if you guys have any questions or anything, but like I said, thank you so much for having me.
Commissioner Mojo.
Well, you knew I'd jump in on this.
Nah.
The exciting thing about having Madeline here today is Madeline really represents an amazing group of young people in Clay County that are making really great, healthy choices in deliberate actions and projects that they take under their wing. Madeline and my oldest son have done this 4-H thing together for a long, long time, since you were in early childhood. And so it's exciting to see how much they've all grown up together, really. We call them our 4-H family. One thing Madeline did not talk about is Madeline has been a finalist at the state horse show in a program called the Dan Patch Leadership Program. And that is one of the most prestigious leadership program opportunities throughout Minnesota 4-H for young people in the Horse Project. And I can count on one hand the amount of young people from Clay County that have done that. I believe Melissa Barrett from the glory days, if you will, Commissioner Campbell, also was part of that as well. So she's done some really exciting things. So often around this table, we need to talk about the really hard opportunities that some of our young people in the community are facing, and programs to help lift them out of some unfortunate circumstances. So it's really exciting to hear the success stories, if you will, about what Clay County 4-H is doing, not only locally, but on our state platform and national platform as well. So thank you so much.
We have a proclamation that we're going to vote on. Does the commission feel up to winging it right now, or should I just read the whole thing? I was going to give it all to Commissioner Mojo, but she's playing hurt, and I'm not going to make her do that. But if you want to lead it off, Commissioner.
Sorry. All right. Whereas 4-H is America's largest youth development organization, having supported more than 6 million youth across the country, and
Whereas 4-H has helped more than 2,500 youth in Clay County to become confident, independent, resilient, and compassionate leaders, and
Whereas 4-H has delivered by Cooperative Extension, a community of more than 100 public universities across the nation that provide experiences for young people to learn by doing hands-on projects in areas including health, science, agriculture, and citizenship, and
Whereas National 4-H Week showcases the incredible experiences that 4-H offers young people and highlights the remarkable 4-H youth in Clay County who work each day to make a positive impact on those around them. And
Whereas 4-H networks of volunteers and professionals providing caring and supportive mentoring to all 4-Hers, helping them grow into true leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries.
now therefore the Clay County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim October 7th through the 12th, 2024 as 4-H Week throughout Clay County, and encourage all of our citizens to recognize 4-H for the significant impact it has made and continues to make by empowering youth with skills that they need to lead for a lifetime. Adopted this 8th day of October, 2024. Can I get a motion on this?
So offered.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion before we vote on the motion? This is a great program. You've got a strong advocate on this commission for it. And what that's managed to do is bring to everybody's attention here. Commissioner Campbell had a son that was part of 4-H as well, the value of the program, and you can count on our continued support. So we have a motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Okay, next up, Darren Brooks says here HR Director, but soon to be full-time Assistant County Administrator. And Ann?
Well, this isn't going to be as exciting as 4-H, I can tell you that right now, because we're talking benefits. But I do appreciate the motion that you made today, making me the Assistant Administrator, so I'm greatly appreciative of that. I want to take a little bit of time to say that my HR team is just fantastic. They do the majority of the work there, and Anna and Melissa and Sarah have really stepped up with, as Steve said, with all the employees that we've added in the last 10 years, and we really haven't added that many people. So I want to give a shout out to them as well. And moving into the assistant administrator job, I can just go straight into assisted living after that, so I'm good to go. As far as the insurance goes, I have three things. One of them, two of them will request a vote from you. The third one is more of a discussion topic. I handed out just an updated sheet for you. The only difference is I added a bottom column there, or the bottom box there. It says county contribution. And so start off, the first issue is back in 2020, we changed our benefit plans so that the county contribution was reduced for new employees, but we kept the grandfathered plans. And back in 2020, and as you can see in the very top box on the right, it says breakdown. As of September 30th, I think is when I ran these numbers, we have 227 employees that were hired after January 1st of 2020. And in 2020, we made it so that the county contribution covered 100% of the non-grandfathered single health, single dental, and basic life. So all four plans were covered 100% for that. Fast forward 5 years to 2025, and with the calculations that we use, the non-grandfathered single plans, only one is covered, and that's the high deductible when it comes to all of the premiums. And so the insurance subcommittee met last week to discuss if this would be possible to correct this. And if you look at the second from the bottom box, it says remaining dollars to the employee after health, dental, and life. In order to cover two of our plans, the high deductible and the 2600 VIBA, we're recommending that the county add $4.88 to the non-grandfathered single county contribution. What that does is for 160 non-grandfathered single plans, we have 160 employees that have non-grandfathered single plans, that would increase their monthly county contribution $4.88. That way that those two plans are 100% covered to include health, dental, single dental, and basic life. So that is the first thing that is in front of the board right now. The total cost to that is $9,370 based on the 160 people that are non-grandfathered single plans right now. In order to do that, we were really under a time crunch, so we had to we had the subcommittee determine that this would be a good way to go to add that $4.88 to that county contribution, and then we had to have a vote by the insurance committee as well. We had that vote last week, and 12 of the 17 voted yes, and was it 5 did not vote. So we still had a majority of the insurance committee that said that this was a good idea for their employees. As a reminder, that insurance committee is made up of members of all the unions, so all of the unions had a vote in this. And so the recommendation from the subcommittee and the insurance committee is to increase the non-grandfathered plan for single county contributions by $4.88 to make two of those plans 100% covered.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Campbell?
You know, ideally we wouldn't have wanted to put the insurance committee into that quick of an action item without having the dialogue through the normal process of an insurance committee meeting. But because of the late time frame and the rapid approaching open enrollment period, we had to do it that way. And actually what this does is this really enhances everybody who is non-grandfathered in the single plan.
Correct.
So not only would there be 2 of the 4 that would fully fund, those that would select the CMM 1000 or the CDHP 4000 will still get a reduced amount out of pocket by what's being proposed here.
Correct.
And I do want to thank Lori for crunching the numbers, and as you see in our deal, we'd be looking at about $9,369 at cost for the entire year 2025 to do this. I certainly think, going back, my concern on this would be if we only had just the one option available to be fully funded, that does put the employees who would be in that position at a real disadvantage to have to take that plan because of the high out-of-pocket costs associated with that plan. And this allows at least some flexibility amongst those people to choose another plan that doesn't have such a high out-of-pocket
Correct.
maximum. So.
And just for a reminder, we're in 2025. We're at the end of our guaranteed increase. If you recall, we had a -5%, then we had a 7, 8, 9. Well, 2025 is our 9, and so we're going to be going back to the negotiating tables and back to RFP for benefits next year. So this will solve it for this year and next year. But we'll see, starting in 2026, where we go with everything.
And I think one of the things that the board has to be aware of, and there can be some concern both from the county standpoint and the employee standpoint moving forward, is that is that depending on the amount of annual increase, percentage increases to premiums, there is nothing that's going to guarantee, you know, based on the current option that we have of the 50/50 on increases, that this is always going to be sustainable, you know, where there wouldn't be some out-of-pocket expense moving forward. But those are discussions that'll come later. But it, you know, Darren, you mentioned that 5 years ago, all 4 plans covered, and the reason they don't cover anymore is because of the higher than, you know, the percentage increases.
Right, and the way the calculation goes.
Right.
Commissioner Krabanoff.
Yeah, thank you, great comments. I just wanted to, as being part of that subcommittee, it was very good to hear. I hadn't heard tell this morning how the vote went. I knew the back and forth we were having with the people on the insurance committee. And it's really good to hear 2 things. Number one, that it was a majority, there was no no's, I guess.
Right.
Positive, and as important, also the fact that you got a voice from the people with the unions.
Right.
So I think that brings a comfort level, I think, to all of us on that subcommittee that, you know, even as already expressed, it wouldn't be the way we'd normally like to do it, but yeah, we're moving forward in a positive way with the agreement of the committee.
Yes, correct. Thank you.
So thank you for that.
Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question on why the 5 abstained from the vote. Did you hear from any of them?
There was a conversation with one individual that just didn't vote. Otherwise, nobody responded. I've reached out to them multiple times and no action.
Yeah, we did, Anna did send out reminders. Okay. So they were reminded a couple of times. So if they didn't vote, then I don't know why. I just think it's important to relay the significance of serving in a capacity like that, and using your voice when you're allowed the platform to do so is really important as we shape the scope of programs moving forward. So I'm hopeful that it was nothing more than just an oversight. Yeah.
And of those 5 that didn't respond, 3 of them represented a union, so 2 of them were non-union representatives.
And we offered in the email that they could certainly call us with any questions that they would have if they didn't understand what was being put out or what was being changed. I did not, I got an email that I responded to, but I don't think you got anybody that reached out and said, I don't understand this. So.
Okay. There was a few emails, but no phone calls.
Okay.
Again, going to Commissioner Moses, I just want to emphasize that, you know, some of those 5 may not have felt comfortable voting for it because of the rapid response, and that this was done basically by a virtual vote, right, as opposed to having the entire insurance committee meet together. We just didn't have time to call that meeting.
Correct.
And and again, if there's any apologies that go out there, that can fall on those of us that did meet in the subcommittee group. But the fact of the matter is this still enhances everybody in that area's benefit. There isn't anything.
There's no downside.
There's no downside.
To the employees.
Just point for the commissioner, I think we need to treat these as 3 different.
Oh, definitely.
3 different items. So this first, the increase is subject to a motion anytime somebody's ready to make it.
I might follow.
Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. I also want to thank you for bringing that discussion. I understand that it happened rapidly and needed to happen, but really, if you look through some of the comments throughout the years on maybe there are some areas where we can strengthen our insurance offerings, what you're doing right now is really reflective of those comments. I think to have flexibility with Medicare is really important. I think to have flexibility and acknowledge that having families where 2 spouses work for the county that duplicative policy is challenging, but not really a service to the people that are working for us. And I think in the end, will really strengthen recruitment and retention as well.
Mr. Chair, I would move to increase the non-grandfathered single county contribution by $4.88 a month for 2025.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion on item number 1 in this? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Now we can move on to the next one.
Okay. The next one also goes kind of to Commissioner Mojo's taking care of the employees right now. As you know, we require everybody to have at least single health, single dental, and basic life. And right now, we have 7 employees that are married that both work for the county. Based on our current policies, both of them have to have at least single health, single dental, and basic life. If they have a family, if they have kids or whatever, then one of those individuals has to take a family plan and the other spouse takes a single plan. That is duplicate on a lot of things for the employee. It's duplicate premiums, it's duplicate deductions. What else am I missing? Claims and everything else. So the motion that we brought to the subcommittee was to allow married couples that are getting two county contributions to continue to get their 2 county contributions, but have one of the family members or spouses opt out of our health insurance, because the other spouse that carries a family plan would also cover that spouse that is a county employee. We did some of the number crunching, and if you look down at the very bottom box, it says county contribution. Those are the county contributions that would go out if a person had a family plan and then was a single grandfather plan. They'd get $3,301 for 2025. If they had a family plan, single non-grandfathered, they get $2,847. So what we're proposing is that if you are a married couple, both working for Clay County, we would give you the option, not making it mandatory, but giving you the option of having one of those spouses drop out and opt out of the health care so that they can then be covered under the family plan of the other spouse. This is a big benefit, because then a lot of the family plans for these individuals would be covered, especially for if you look up on the fourth box down where it says health plan costs 2025. If you look over under the family premiums, those are family premiums per month. And so a lot of the family plans would be covered until you get down to 2 single non-grandfathered. They're getting $2,054. The county contribution would not change for whether you're grandfathered or non-grandfathered. That would stay the same. And so if somebody is grandfathered and they have a family plan and they're grandfathered and have a single plan, they would still get that, but one would be able to opt out, and then that would cover their family plan. So I think this is a big benefit to those who want to take advantage of it. Like I said, it's voluntary. You don't have to do that. But it does save the county money, I think, in premiums and deductions and all of that as well. Let's see. What am I missing? Anything else?
The only thing I want to clarify, it was 7 couples, so 14 employees, not 7 employees.
Yes. Yeah. True. 7 couples.
Are these still covered by life insurance and
Yes.
Yes.
and dental?
Yes.
Just a worst-case scenario, we have 2 employees who decide to do this, and their there is a death or a divorce or whatever, where the employee that continues to be working at the county is the one that's not covered, how quick a turnaround could we make? Could we do that mid-year?
Yeah, so anytime someone experienced a life event, marriage, divorce, childbirth, loss, if they left Clay County, the individual that is employed has 30 days to make changes, so it could happen in the matter of days.
So nobody be left in a crisis situation?
Right.
Okay.
And it would be no additional cost to the county because this is what we're paying right now. So there's no cost at that, as far as that's concerned.
Other questions? Commissioner Campbell?
So when we originally talked about this, there was some, didn't we talk about both being able to have single coverage?
Yeah,
At the original conversation?
And yeah, that was the original conversation. And actually, when I submitted this information sheet, that's what we had discussed. But once we started crunching some numbers, we found that it wasn't advantageous to just give them 2 singles because they still wouldn't be able to pay for the full family coverage at that point. So that's why we changed it. And I sent out an email to Commissioner Krabenhoff and Commissioner Campbell yesterday, I think.
Yeah,
that just kind of explained that some of our calculations were a little bit different or off when we were just going to give, the original plan that we had talked about was giving both individuals single coverage, but when we did some calculations, it wasn't going to be advantageous to the employees at all.
So, and again, so there, I get the idea of having the family coverage make sense where you'd get them both on the one policy and you have that one premium. I think the other area that we haven't had the discussion on is for the one employee who would give up that but still get the county contribution. How would that work, say, for example, for somebody who's now going to get the full cafeteria plan contribution? There's a difference in a contribution between those who are grandfathered and non-grandfathered.
Right.
So the question becomes, if we're going to do this, for the one who no longer is going to have to pay the premium, but they're getting the contribution, would the non-grandfathered contribution, along with the contribution for the other one, be more than enough to make those premiums in any of those plans? Do you follow where I'm going with this?
I followed you up until your last sentence.
Well, so right now, if we have a plan right now where both employees are grandfathered,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And they're both grandfathered, and they're both required to take single policies. Okay, and now the proposal would be that both those grandfathered employees would be eligible to fall under one family plan.
Correct.
So that employee's contribution, who takes that, the one, of the 2 married couples, the one who takes that
Right.
and is grandfathered, that premium falls short of being able to pay for the plans by itself. So where they make ground is then the person who no longer is forced to take the single plan still gets this full non-grandfathered contribution.
Right.
And that non-grandfathered contribution could be more than what is needed to pay to cover the full premiums of all 4 of those. And so the question becomes could that person who, and again, this is why we probably this should be through our insurance committee to have this dialogue, but
Yeah.
But would the person who does not have to carry the plan, who opts out, could they fall into the non-grandfathered status and still have a contribution between the two of them that would cover the full cost of the
Yes.
floor plans?
So if you look at the very bottom box on the worksheet, if I'm understanding you correctly, the family and the single grandfathered individual would have enough to cover any of the 4 family options. If there's a family and a non-grandfathered, there's enough contribution when you pull the two together to cover 3 of the 4 family health options. And then if both individuals are single and grandfathered, it does make, I mean, if because the family the family premiums are so significantly higher than the single, there isn't necessarily an advantage to those employees because now their contribution is, when you pool them together, it's only covering a few of the plans, where right now their single policy is covered in full. So it's really going to depend on the couple, on their family dynamics, whether they have children that are covered for our plan. So it's really going to depend. All 7 couples could be completely different.
And I think a lot of this has to do with what the family makeup is. If we have 2 individuals that are working for Clay County that have no children, or children that don't qualify anymore, then they will probably take 2 single plans. It's really for the people who have a family that are trying to cover children as well. And instead of having a whole nother insurance premium, insurance deductible, and all of that, we would just take that other spouse and they would fall under the family.
Under that family plan.
Yeah, exactly.
But then that single one would still get the full
Yes.
grandfathered
Yes.
cafeteria plan
And I thi-
supply, which could result in a lot more leftover dollars.
It could result in some leftover dollars as well. And you can see that from, like, if we had a family and a single grandfather, they're going to get $3,300 per month. And the CMM 1000 is $3,049. So they're going to get more than what the premium is. The thing about changing, if you're grandfathered, now we're going to pay you non-grandfathered, that gets real messy, and that would have to go back to being negotiated with the unions, because now we're changing. This proposition is that this is optional, and if you want to do it and it makes sense for you, then we're making that available for you. If it doesn't make sense, then you just keep what you have. But there's no additional cost for the county, because this is what we're paying right now. If somebody is married, spouses, we're giving them single coverage and family coverage at the same time. Now, we do have a couple that don't have any kids, and so they have two single plans. So that hopefully explains that a little bit.
And I raise this because, and we've talked about it in our insurance committees for a long time, is that the intent of this is to provide insurance for our employees. And the intent really wasn't to allow money to be given back, but in treating everybody equally, that, there's no way of getting around that, I guess.
And I think I reviewed the contracts, and really what it says about insurance is if there's any change in the calculation, the 50-50, that has to be negotiated. And if the county wants to change carriers, then it has to be a vote by the insurance committee. So the 2 things that we're talking about now, or the married couples, doesn't fall into either one of those categories. That's why, and it's optional, so we're not forcing somebody to do this. So that's why it's not necessary to go back to the unions and negotiate all of this. Now, if we were to change saying, okay, instead of getting grandfathered, you're going to get non-grandfathered to bring you more in line with what the premium costs are, we would have to negotiate that, because that would be a detriment.
And again, we're not talking that many.
Yeah, we're not talking that many. And some of those 7 might just keep what they have right now. We don't know for sure. We won't know that until the open enrollment is done. So
It'd be their advantage to take the family plan.
It most likely would be. Yep.
Commissioner Mosho.
Thank you. I think it's also important to note those family plans still are a substantial out-of-pocket premium, even with the additional piece. That, I mean, it is substantial. And part of, as you look to how do we best supply health insurance programs that fit the need in the most appropriate way, you know, a family plan, you know, a single parent with children is still taking out a family plan. And,
Right.
and so there are other companies and policies that allow to have a parent and dependents plan that might make more sense going forward too. And I think that's important to keep that as part of the dialogue. I understand that, you know, out of those 7 couples, every policy and situation is going to look vastly different. And I think we need to be careful to make sure that people aren't pocketing, as you say, the additional components. But I would guess the majority of those people are still going to be paying several $100s out of pocket in addition for what the plans are.
Yeah, that second box from the bottom, that kind of shows you the out-of-pocket for just a person who has one family plan. So let's say that's one employee that has to take a family plan. Everything in red is coming out of their pocket every month, and that's pretty significant.
And then what's not coming out is in the could potentially be in the out-of-pocket maximum.
Correct.
Which is over $13,000 for the
Correct.
lesser amount.
Correct. Okay. Any additional questions?
We can entertain a motion on this if there's no further questions.
Yeah, I'm comfortable doing that. I'd like to make a motion to give the option to married employees who both work for Clay County to elect only a family plan instead of carrying a family and a single plan. Again, it's an option.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Commissioner Campbell.
For clarity, though, would somebody, so right now, is there still the option to be able to both choose a single plan?
Yes.
Yes.
That still is
absolutely.
there?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Okay, because that's not in this motion, but it's still an option that's.
Yep,
that exists.
certainly. It's still an option. All of this would be optional for employees, depending on their situation.
And Commissioner Krabanoff, Commissioner Mojo, you stipulate that in the motions you made.
But we don't need to. I mean, it's taken care of.
Okay. All right.
Well, excuse me, though, because it says here, motion to give the option to married employees who both work for the county to either select a family plan instead or carrying a family and a single.
He said an option, he said that in his motion.
But it doesn't state that there should be the option of a single plus a single.
He said in his motion that this option gives them the opportunity to do that if they so choose. That's not precluding them from doing what the other element was.
Right now, there would be no change to what our policy is right now, that they could both have single plans.
Okay.
Because, again, I'm just, what it reads here. Elect only a family plan instead of carrying a family and a single plan.
This would be completely voluntary based on the needs of the family.
We do have some of the married couples that aren't currently carrying a family plan, and so their single coverage would remain as is, or this would be the option.
So the record shows they can have both. That's all.
Definitely.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Okay.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The last thing we discussed in the subcommittee is, and I really only need this for discussion and kind of tell you where we're looking at going with this. This proposal would require some research because we would like to get a hold of Steve Smith, who is our NIS consultant. He is extremely knowledgeable in Medicare policies, procedures, rules, whatever you want to call them. And unfortunately, his father passed away recently, and so we have not been able to talk to him. But one of the proposals that we're looking at is employees that are over the age of 65 and that are Medicare eligible would be allowed to opt out of our health benefits and go into Medicare. With Medicare, there's a lot of rules and regulations that I don't feel comfortable right now in saying, yes, let's go ahead and do this. But I think this is something that we just wanted to throw out in front of you for some thought and maybe get any feedback that you would want us to look into as far as questions go. And maybe this is something that we can put into play next year when we're talking about our 2026 health benefits. I think it's definitely an option out there, but I wanted to do a little bit more research on that. So if you have any comments or something that you maybe want us to look into a little bit more, I just don't feel comfortable with the short amount of time that we have to change the database, which is this Friday. I think this is a bridge too far to try to make this into a policy this year.
Commissioner Campbell.
No, Paul wanted to.
Oh, Commissioner Kravinoff.
Yeah, just to what's behind the conversation, and from my point of view, and I'm very comfortable waiting, let's make sure. But the reason for this whole thing coming up is that there are people that are, again, employees that are required to have your health insurance.
Right.
While at the same time, they already are under Medicare, and they're carrying a supplemental along with that.
Correct.
And maybe a few of us, including myself, already have another group plan.
Correct.
And I dropped, and so I have a county group plan, I have supplemental, and I have Medicare.
Right.
And it's just duplication. But we want to be careful. I'm not the one-off here.
Right.
I want to make sure this is, there's other people in this situation, so we just don't have this duplication. Also, we know that some of our highest costs are people over 65.
Correct.
And so it's about looking not only about contribution, but what the effects are of aging people on the costs into the future while they're still working with the county.
Yep. Thank you for that, Commissioner Kavanaugh.
I'd also like to point out in addition to that, and when you have those coverages, and if you have the county coverage, your county coverage is primary, no matter how good all these other insurance you have. So when you have some of us that are up there in age or whatever, and you all of a sudden you have a high claim situation, it hits the county's deal first.
Right.
And it hits the county claims first.
Right.
And this is an opportunity under this format to remove that. And I'm disappointed that it's this late in the game because I think this would be worthy of doing in 2025. And I think Lori's head nodding yes back there too. But you look at you could wait till 2026 and you could have one of a 65 and older person have one strong claim, and it can be impact everybody's next year's premiums.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
right now we have, I totaled up about 18 employees that are 65 or over, which would be eligible for Medicare.
And individuals' claims are confidential, so we are assuming that people over the age of 65 have higher claims, but we don't actually know, and so.
Maybe I overstated that, but I think there's a higher probability.
Correct.
Yes, that's probably
You
right.
okay to say that? So following with what Commissioner Campbell said there, even though you aren't totally comfortable, what's the harm in making it an option to keep it moving forward in the fact that you may have information by the time the open period closes, which I think is December 7th.
For Medicare, I believe
November.
so.
But isn't that the concern, the piece?
So the piece where my concern lies is I just don't know the rules and regulations of Medicare. It is very regulated, and as Darren said, Steve Smith is licensed in Medicare. We just haven't had the opportunity to connect with him due to a family matter.
I mean, it's something that we can certainly continue to look at, and if we can get a hold of Steve Smith and say, hey, you can do this, and this is easy, and this is how you do it, then maybe.
Well, I would hope we should bring it back.
Yep.
If it's before, if it's before the close of the enrollment period, I would hope that maybe we could bring it back to discuss again.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts.
And yeah, and this would be a question for Steve Smith too, but I think the enrollment period in terms of somebody signing up for Medicare benefits, I think there's a December date that's supposed to be done. But if you have a change in your own coverage, that could be, so for example, if we made this policy change effective January 1, then that's something, then I would think that would extend that period, but that's a question for Steve Smith.
It is very similar to the life event, where if you do have a loss or gain of another coverage, you can make changes. That applies to Medicare as well. Yes.
So maybe that could even, another question could be, if we're not comfortable with it yet, could if it's considered one of those life event changes, could we make this policy effective March 1st?
The only thing I would be a little hesitant on would be, you're not really losing coverage, you're making the option to drop coverage, so I don't know.
No, that's a question for Steve Smith.
Yep. Okay.
Are we looking at, on the the supplemental policies that you get when you get Medicare?
Right.
We're looking at the county supplying an option with one of those, or
No.
or paying for that plan?
So I think the discussion that's been taking place is that those employees who are 65 and older would keep their cafeteria contribution. And that cafeteria contribution could be used to go out on their own and buy these, because everybody's supplemental policy is different when it comes to Medicare.
Right, right.
Everybody's going to have a different monthly premium based on what selections you choose between Part B and Part D and all of those types of things. So the intent was that whatever the 65 and older would have in terms of a cafeteria plan would still be in place.
Right, they would still get their county contribution.
But instead of having to pay for one of these 4 policies in full, that money could be used to buy these other supplements to Medicare.
Correct.
And the Part B as well?
Yeah, I think it would cover whatever you would want to, whatever you would want to pay for, or use it to pay for. So we'll continue to look through this. If it's possible to do it for 2025, we will certainly bring that back to the board. And once we find out more information about, this is you can do this and this is easy to do, then we can certainly look at doing that. So, okay.
Any other questions or
Any other
comments?
questions?
Well, I think it's good that we even try to pursue it still this year if possible.
Okay.
That can have as significant of a impact on our premiums as these other 2 things we did today.
Yep, definitely.
In addition to the fact it is a costly demographic.
Yes.
You may not have the facts in front of you, but I think if those of us that are eligible take it to Medicare, it's going to have a positive impact on the numbers down the road for the county.
Right, I agree. Okay.
Well, again, I want to thank both of you for the work that you put into these things, and certainly I think you have the county in mind and you have the employee in mind as you're, proposing some of these
Right.
changes, and I think it's been really good.
Yeah, we're always looking for the win-win, when we can get it, so. Good for the employees, good for the county.
Find a win-win for us people over 65.
That's impossible. All right. Any
We
other
appreciate it.
questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next up. Steve and Lori.
Good morning again, Commissioners. We're here to just provide an update. We try to come in each quarterly just to give an idea, mainly on our expenses. As I mentioned earlier, our revenues generally fall anywhere from 6 weeks to 2 months behind. And so we have, before you this morning, we have our revenues and expenditure balance through September. So about 75% of our of the year. And so you see the broken down of on the right side of your documents what was budgeted, where we are year to date, and the variance of that. And so, as was shared earlier in the other item, from a budgeting standpoint, financially, the county is in a very good position. Nearly all of the items are at 75% or less, or are entities or items that are paid in a one-time payment to some of our outside agencies for their appropriations. And so, in reviewing this document with Ms. Johnson, I didn't identify any specific areas that I could highlight as far as a spending, so I would take any questions from the board in regards to where we are from an expenditure standpoint.
Any questions on the expenditures? Okay. Proceed. Quiet on this side.
All right, and if any other questions come up as we go, certainly can step back. The other item that we like to touch base on during our quarterly updates are also our half-cent sales tax for our law enforcement center correctional facility. As you can see, we've kind of plateaued from the standpoint of the earlier years of 16, 3.4, 20 and a half, 10 and a half, and 9% last year in our the funding receipts. There's a change in state funding, so we now receive all of our payments each month in one payment versus two separate payments. And so, as you can see, we continue to maintain a good situation, as we've talked about in previous budgets going back, I believe 3 budgets now. We have not included any levy dollars within the repayment of our jail and law enforcement center project. I believe this year we're at about $3.9 million is a principal interest payment. And so if you project over the next 4 months, even based on the 2021-22 figures, we will again be well in a firm financial position to make that payment and to have additional dollars left over. Ms. Johnson and I review this payment every month to ensure that it's within the time frame, or excuse me, within the amount that we are anticipating, and so that as we move forward with this upcoming budget, we're able to adjust as need be. With that, I'd yield for any questions.
We're making it too easy.
Well, I mean, there's
It is.
there's hard to complain about something good.
But I've got faith in you, Commissioner Campbell.
Well, if there's anything good, it's this page right here.
Indeed. Well, thank you for both of you for your diligent stewardship of this, of our budget and of this, the projects we have. It's one of the reasons being a county commissioner here is a lot easier than it is in a number of other counties. We have good people who are responsible and stay on top of these things.
Thank you.
Grateful.
And I want to just echo that. I think when I look at especially the summaries and we get them partway into the year, it just helps us all track, or, you see it enough times so that you become a little more familiar, of how things roll out. And so it isn't such, even though we've done the preliminary, it's not so much guesswork right at the end. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. They're afraid to leave the mic. It was too easy. Okay. Committee reports, and I believe start with Commissioner Campbell.
Last 2 weeks. If you want me to go, I'll go.
Did I hit you twice in a row?
I went first last time, but I
Oh, well, we can, looking at my notes, you're right. Commissioner Gross, we'll start with you.
Okay, last Tuesday, we had the Personnel Issues Committee meeting. We discussed two things, reorganization of solid waste department and making the assistant county administrator position full-time. And both of those things we had on the agenda, so they're already covered. Thursday, also on that day, we had highway tracking. There we discussed setting up November 19th as a meeting, which we already did during the agenda today. There was a staffing update as far as what positions they filled. They've had a few retirements out there. They're still waiting for more motor grader operators, a shop foreman. So far, both maintenance workers have been filled, and also engineering technician. Also discussed the equipment purchase, which was covered in the agenda today. And also there'll be an open house on that roundabout on County 12 and 52 on November the 6th. Pardon?
Where's that?
That roundabout?
No.
The highway,
The highway department.
it's on our agenda. Calendar.
Also, that evening, I went to which wasn't a regular meeting here, it was a Heart of Clay that was put on. Marriott had a full room. There were people supporting the Heart of Clay program. Things are pretty worth, after listening to people talking there, it's a worthwhile thing that's happening here in Clay County, especially in our jail ministry and the jail. Very good program, and I was glad to see a room full of people there supporting the program. And Thursday, I went to an open house for the Moorhead Armory, which was held Thursday afternoon. Those were my meetings.
Thank you. Commissioner Krappenoff.
And so last Tuesday, on the 1st, I had the Adult Mental Health Executive Committee setting up our agenda that we'll have later in the month. Discussion of new topics, spotlights, we call them, coming in for our discussions from our partner nonprofits, excuse me. And then we'll be having elections coming up for a secretary for that group. Then I do want to, it was in the afternoon, we had the open house for the detox and the withdrawal management facility, along with the DMV, and I just thought that was really a great afternoon. So impressed. It was my first look on the inside of those two buildings, and I was really moved by the detox center. I just very excited for the people. I know as I talk to public health, some people are pretty jealous about the new digs over there for some of the folks, but and on the other side of the coin, having been a person that is around addiction and whatnot, it's sobering. and exciting at the same time. And I just really compliment the staff and the dedication and commitment of the people in our public health that work in this area. It might be a pretty facility, but on the inside, sometimes things aren't so pretty. And to help people that are in a potentially end-of-life situation, to be able to help them through that event and hopefully lead them through a treatment management situation that may pull them from that over time. I think it's just, I want to thank everybody involved. It's obviously got started long before I came here, but to see the end of it and what it will do for us in our region is just kudos to everybody involved. So that was very good. The DMV will be exciting to see when we open that door, and the efficiency. It's been so nice downtown how the operation worked there, and I think this will be, again, just a place to have our own that we can control for the years, and it'll also be important to see when the state comes back in with their space. On Thursday, I had the Children's Mental Health LAC meeting, and there again, good reports from all our people. That's always a big meeting with our providers. And the main thing going on there is, again, collaboration, which they're all doing, but how do we get that information out as to the referrals for people? And a lot of this comes through our schools throughout the county, referrals out, but trying to identify, making it easy to use QR code. And so we're going to start in that development that maybe it's a QR code that we can do to help people navigate to the resources for families and our schools or other nonprofits all together. Just have one area that people can come into and find direction easily. So with that was my week.
Thank you. Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. Last week, I had the opportunity to attend the media tours for our two new facilities. Really grateful for staff for for taking on those questions and taking so many people on the tours last week. I know staff did a lot of work to make sure that the ribbon cutting area was ready and signage was up. So thank you to everyone for that. That afternoon, then we did have, the chamber sure brought a lot of people out for that. And then I attended with Commissioner Gross and staff, the correctional facility, Sweet Freedom fundraiser. Really great to reflect on 10 years of their impact and programming at our facility. They've really put a mark on a lot of the folks that they've worked with. It's really a great partnership that we've built with them over there. And then yesterday, I had the executive committee for the Metropolitan Council of Governments. We had general business on the minutes and agenda, but we did approve the CPG contract amendment. There was some moving of funds availability from Minnesota DOT, and so wanted to make sure that was reflected in a contract amendment. And then we did discuss at length the 2025-2026 UPWP and budget that will go for the policy board. If it seems like I've reported on this a lot in the last couple of months, I have been. There are so many different appendices to that programming document. It's really been reflected in that. It's really good, though, to see, particularly with Clay County, how our engineering and planning departments are bringing potential studies and opportunities for work to that, so that if there is a shift in funds, which we've seen frequently, they're able to address that need and get it in the work plan. After that, I attended the final meeting for the withdrawal management construction committee, I guess, if you will, with that wrap up basically to discuss the planning on the final walkthroughs and transfer of occupancy, if you will, waiting for MDH to do that final walkthrough on that. There are a couple items to wrap up, but I think the contingencies were around that $190,000 on that project. After that, we had the DMV construction committee meeting. The contingencies on that are about 177, I believe. Certainly, there's some FF&E components that we need to purchase. It was brought to our attention there's some chairs that needed to be ordered, but certainly both of those facilities are marching towards completion. The transfer, we discussed a little bit about how we publicly notice and get the word out on when the DMV on the 21st will be open. So we'll be working with the communication staff to do so. I believe that concludes my reports.
Thank you. Commissioner Campbell?
Thank you. On October 1st, we had the Highway Tracking Committee meeting, which Commissioner Gross has given a good update on the several of those things we acted on today regarding the diversion issue, the equipment issue. I really don't have any more to add to that report. On the 4th of October, we had a Diversion Authority Planning Committee meeting, and it was an all-day interview process with multiple candidates for the new executive director position. And ultimately, it was the Planning Committee's task to bring that down to 3 finalists, which will be put forward to the full Diversion Authority Board for interviews of those 3 candidates. And as of yesterday, I believe that was, an invite was served. That's going to happen on October 24th from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock is the plan for that. And at which time after that, I'm assuming that the Diversion Authority will choose one of those finalists. That process is moving quite well. We did originally have 6 candidates. 1 withdrew, and the other 5 are all very good candidates, qualified candidates. But we ultimately put down to 3, and I believe those names have been put out into the media. I don't have them with me right now. I know one of them, and I don't want to name just one without naming the other 2. But that's public information for those who want to know it. Then I also attended yesterday as Commissioner Mojo said, the final meeting of the withdrawal management detox facility. We should no longer need to meet on that project. There have been some ongoing issues regarding door pass issues, and I think those are finally resolved now. We are looking at some final inspections being done, and we should have the certificate of occupancy on that building by the end of this week. And Joel Olson did point out that he will have both of those new buildings put onto our MCIT insurance coverage effective starting now. I'm assuming he did that yesterday, or he's doing it today, so. You guys get the tour of the place, and the public got the tour of the place, and it really is going to be a good asset to Clay County. That same afternoon, then, we did attend what should be the second to the last meeting on the DMV facility. That was also talked about, and we're down to the contingencies are good. I know on this one, Joe is going to be bringing before the board, I believe next week, some adjustments to the FF&E budget. I think there's an increase of $8,000 to $12,000 for difference in chairs that are going to be used in the lobby area there. But he'll be bringing that next week. Other than that, I do want to point out that I think Gertz Construction has done a really nice job on these buildings, and they were very good at really keeping that project in line. And when we look at having a contingency numbers to where they're at, when all's said and done, I think Commissioner Mojo did point that out. I think we're at somewhere around 175, maybe 170 by the time we're done on the DMV building, remaining contingency that will hopefully not be needed. And we're right around 188, 190,000 on contingency on the withdrawal management facility. So those projects really have done well, and it was nice working with the management level that Gertz had on that project. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Last week, attended the PIC committee, which is the issues we covered were covered today, and Commissioner Gross covered the meeting. I also attended the Detox and DMV grand opening, or open house, a little preceding the actual opening, but everybody has said it. They're both very impressive facilities. They're coming in without hitting the contingencies too hard, so it's all good news. Wednesday, the 2nd, I participated in the Chamber of Commerce Candidate Forum here at the courthouse. I want to thank the Chamber for giving us, the candidates, an opportunity to express our positions and move forward and inform the public on what we're doing here. It was a good opportunity. Thursday, I remotely attended the Northwest Emergency Communication Board, representing them on the Legislative Committee for the Emergency Communication Legislative Affairs Group. We covered the State Emergency Communication Board fact sheet that we need to have. Obviously, the last legislative session left a lot of things undone. We've detailed some of the responsibilities of our board members. The SCIP, which is State Communication Interoperability Board, we set some goals for next year, including, hopefully, getting the Statute 403 revised and dealing with some of the working for some state funding for local, regional, and tribal level communication centers. And that completes my report. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Tuesday, I participated in the PIC meeting. That's been well addressed. Again, I want to thank the board for their actions today in making the full-time assistant administrator. I think that will truly be a benefit to the county. Also participated on the first on both the media tours and the ribbon cutting event. Again, I want to thank Lori, Chelsea, Kathy, Troy, Mark, and Jackie, and Joe and his staff, and along with the chamber for having their ambassadors there. Again, it was an exciting day. And I would just note that our DMV was not quite as far along as we hoped it would be, but as you can see, from Tuesday till Friday, there was quite a transformation, as we have had in just about every project that we've done. Participated in highway tracking after that afternoon, which has been well covered. That evening, I participated or went to the Heart of Clay fundraiser. Really great event. It was good to see Julie Savat provided some testimony on the impact that she saw as her time as a jail administrator there. And so that was a really good event. The second, third, and fourth, I participated in the macrame annual conference at Rutgers. We spent a lot of discussion on legislative priorities, different leadership trainings, and also marijuana impacts, legislative impacts. Also participated in NACO leadership sessions last week. We're about 3/4 of the way through the cohort. This time is about 3/4 of the way through. And Friday also, Darren and I also met on some legal issues here at the county. Yesterday I participated in the owner meeting that has been well covered. Just a reminder for our employees, there's going to be a countywide fire drill Wednesday at 11 a.m. Please treat it as if it's a real event. There's going to be different people monitoring to make sure that we're adequately addressing that issue should they happen. You all should have received an email. It's a posted for upcoming meetings if you're interested. There's going to be a partnering with the City of Moorhead and a cyber tabletop exercise on October 23rd from 8:30 till 12:30 at the MCOM Center. If you're interested in attending, let Sarah or I know, and we'll get you registered for that. And then one of the last things I wanted to touch on last year, we had a work session that addressed a series of different ideas for legislative priorities. Out of that work session, the board came up with 3 of them. As we move closer to 2025 legislative session, while we made progress on the 3 areas that the board selected, we didn't get it to the finish line. And so my question before the board today would be is if you're interested in bringing those topics back up in a regular board meeting and have some additional discussion, or if you'd like to see another work session to further discuss those areas and or bring forward some additional any ideas that you'd like to see.
Thoughts on that? You know, it may be worth a work session. We've got a lot of issues we want to look at in depth, and that gives us opportunity to do it with some focus. Are there thoughts on that?
I would agree. I'd prefer a work group first.
I see some head nods, so I think, do we have consensus? Okay.
All right, I'll look to schedule a 1 o'clock, most likely a 1 o'clock work session here after one of our upcoming meetings. I'll get some dates out to each of you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. We have Katie Stock from the County Attorney's Office here, and every week we put the County Attorney's Office on the hot seat and see if you have anything you want to contribute.
I don't have any updates for today,
Okay, thank you for being here. Dell, anything?
I think I've said enough. Thank you.
You look tired. Jackie, you got anything for us? Okay, well then, if there isn't any other business, we're adjourned.